everyone, I'm Liz.
I'm Cody.
And welcome to the preview of Unit 4, New Life. So there is a group of 29 families from Afghanistan who were having a 6-month orientation or introduction to Korean life in Yeosu. And they recently were relocated to Ulsan. And they have mostly had a warm welcome from the people of Ulsan, but there has been a little bit of backlash against the relocation or location of these families in Ulsan. So that's kind of the topic of this article.
Backlash.
Backlash. But regarding the families, they moved to Korea after kind of the collapse of Afghanistan or the return of the Taliban. And they were all special contributors. So some of them worked at the Korean embassy in Kabul, and some of them worked for Korean companies in Afghanistan. So they were brought to Korea on kind of long-term visas, not as refugees, as special contributors. And they were spending some time in Yeosu kind of learning Korean, so they'd be able to settle down in Korea.
Settle down.
Settle down. And we will talk more about the reaction in the review. But have you ever met someone from Afghanistan?
I have, actually. I met, well, here in Korea, I met a business person, so they weren't a refugee. But before that, in the US, I actually met Afghani refugees. Those are the first ones that I met. And yeah, they were young, high school age, and I was help tutoring them in English and some other subjects for high school there in Texas. And got to hear about their country and met one of their parents, and didn't speak any English at all because they were not special contributors or that kind of thing.
Right.
We had no affiliation to the embassy. It was just purely human rights and refugee status. But yeah, the things I heard about living there and the suffering they went through, it's quite different. How about you?
I'm gonna say maybe no. I've met people from a variety of kind of Middle East countries and Middle Asia, but I don't think I've met anyone from Afghanistan specifically. So I don't really know very much. What do you think it's like living in Afghanistan?
Well, before recently, there was, conflict obviously because of the prolonged kind of conflict and war, trying to get rid of terrorism, that kind of thing. So it's hard to say living there was good. And a lot of them that I met were fleeing for many years.
Right.
But now it definitely seems like a much worse place to visit or even be under the rule of the Taliban and things like that. So I can't imagine how maybe their family is back there in that country or other people. So quite sad situation there. Yeah,
it really is. You look at pictures of Afghanistan from like the 1970s maybe.
Oh yeah.
It's very progressive, and there are women in miniskirts and all of these.
Right.
It's much different than it is today. So it's really sad to see the pictures and video and everything coming out of Afghanistan these days.
Yeah, and everything changed to what we see of Afghanistan when the Taliban took over in the 90s, and then, of course, well, I can't say liberation under America, but we tried to change things, and they started to get better, and then suddenly it's just back in time.
Right.
30 years.
It is a really sad situation.
Yeah.
And now for the language focus. The first point is made it. So for example, I just barely made it to work on time because the subway was delayed and I had to take the bus.
Oh, it rarely happens, but when it does, it's frustrating.
It is.
And for mine, on the contrary. So for my example, many Koreans think that because I'm a foreigner that I can't eat spicy food. On the contrary, I love spicy food.
Being from Texas, there's a lot of Mexican food, so a lot of spice down
there.
Yeah,
I grew up on it.
Okay, and that's all for the preview of Unit 4 New Life. We'll see you in the review.